that's where me and Doobie and Uncle Ivan, a lot of greats, that's where we got our chord structures from, because we didn't hear a lot of those chord structures being played in church. I always appreciated Doobie for being himself.
Yeah.
And I used to sometimes, I had to learn growing up to be original, to understand the art of originality. There's an industry full of people who just are in the music industry and are not musical. A lot of stuff that's out here that's being force-fed through the media, that's being force-fed through the radio stations, the people who got the money, the folk at the top, they're pushing, some of the music they're pushing is whack. You can have multiple streams of income and still be a musician.
That's what it's about.
It's about how well you're going to diversify yourself. How are you going to be able to have multiple streams of income if all you can do is play in church at that only play CCM music?
What up, guys? You know who it is. It's your boy, John Mike Juan Miguel. We are back again with the Hangout Podcast, where we just hang out and we talk about things that are relative to us as gospel producers, as musicians, as just people in general and what we like to do. But today I am hanging out with a very, very, very special guest, and it is none other than Deacon, Elder, Bishop Kevin Powell. We got Kevin Powell in the building.
What's up, my brother?
Man, what's good, man?
Man, you done gave me every church title there is, man.
I didn't. No, I left out apostle.
Oh yeah,
I left out prelate.
Yeah,
I left
did leave that out. That's
district overseer.
Yeah, man.
What else is there? There's
I'm Kojic, so we don't have district overseers.
Oh, you don't have district overseers in Kojic?
We have auxiliary bishops.
What's an aux bishop, bro?
I don't know. I think he has something to do with the aux keyboard.
Like, what's an aux bishop?
The auxiliary bishops play aux in all of the local jurisdictions. They play
That's
aux
hilarious.
keyboard. No, I'm joking.
Auxiliary bishops.
I don't.
See, I grew up Baptist, so we had like district overseers, full, and I grew up full gospel Baptist. It wasn't just Baptist; it was full gospel.
That's
Baptist.
like Baptist Kojic.
Yeah, Baptist Kojic. We used to, funny enough, we used to say that. We used to say we was Baptist Kojic.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah,
we
man.
was Baptist Kojic because we were Baptists that spoke in tongues.
Yep.
And if you, so it was just like you believed in all of that.
That's a whole lot in itself.
As if the gospel alone wasn't good enough. We had to be full gospel.
Right. Full gospel.
It's just whatever.
Yeah.
Bless Bishop Paul Morton. He was a pioneer.
Doctrines is that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
For a whole nother podcast.
Absolutely. We can come and talk about jurisdiction, bishops, and all of that stuff like that, aux bishops and all of that.
Right.
We came here to hang out with you, man. And so
I came to hang out with you.
That's funny.
Because you are a blessing. I don't mean to cut you off, but man, I'm really thrilled.
Wow.
To be here, man. This is dope, man. What you got going on, what you're doing.
Yes, sir.
For the music industry and for the musicians community.
Yeah.
Is awesome, man. So this is an honor and a privilege for me to just even be here, that you even thought about little old me out of Hartford, Connecticut.
Oh, man.
Come and hang out with you out here in, where we at? Charlotte,
North Carolina.
Man,
bro.
I'm honored, man. This is a blessing, man.
Well, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. The honor is esteemed in both directions. I appreciate what your family has been to not just the gospel industry, but just the industry as a whole. And I think we'll probably touch in and talk about that today, because you guys, the Powell legacy just runs deep.
Absolutely.
I think. And I don't think people understand like how deep that legacy goes. And I want to try to tap into some of that today and really like kind of tell the world or show the world like what you guys have brought, like, and the influence all the way from Hubert Powell, your dad, all the way back to wood, brass, and steel, that whole era of music on up to, what I'm saying, now where we are with, you and Doobie and Billy carrying on the torch, of that entire legacy, spanning like literally the last 6, 7 decades of music has been indirectly and directly influenced by your family. And I think that needs to be highlighted, and we're going to really try to show. So if you had to sum up, because I know that I don't want to take for granted that everybody watching this knows who Kevin Powell is. Mm-hmm. If you had to sum up, give us that summary, give us the what's your eulogy? If you
Wow,
I don't went to the eulogy, Doc. That's a scary. No, who is Kevin Powell, man? Who's Kevin Powell?
Look, man, I'm a family oriented boy, the baby. Mm-hmm. I got two older brothers, Billy and Doobie. A lot of people think Billy is the oldest, but he's not. It's Doobie.
Really?
But yeah, you know,
he just carries himself.
He's just an old soul, man. Billy's an old soul, but Billy is the middle child. But you know, me personally, I'm a boy that grew up in Windsor, Connecticut. Wow. You know, Hartford, Connecticut, really, but lived in Windsor for the majority of my life, and born to some great parents. My late father, the one and only Dr. Hubert Powell Jr. They called him Bishop. Bishop Powell, and my mother, Pastor Jacqueline Powell. Man, you know, we've always been a close knit family growing up. Yeah, and so you know that's kind of how I am. You know, love music, love sports. You know, we just me in general, man. I love sports. I love music. I had somewhat of a cool childhood growing up, so you know, I was able to do a lot of that, you know, but you know, I knew at an early age that music was the end all tell all for me. Music, really? And then as I grew spiritually, I knew that, you know, it had to do with ministry as well. You know what I'm saying? So that's really who I am, man. I love family, love the Lord, music, you know, production, and you know, and like they would say, in that order. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you know. That's really me in a nutshell, man. You know,
I think that's a pretty loaded kind of workflow, man, that you've kind of established over the years with, because I think, and I know you skimmed and condensed a whole lot, but there's so much in there that you've done, from, you know, playing aux on, you know, touring and playing aux for this artist, that artist, right? Producing and playing on timeless records over the years that people, I know they don't know about. Like, because you were telling me some of the stuff, and I was like, wait a minute, you did that? And you was like, yeah, man. It's like, what? Yeah. So playing on those records, producing on those records, you're always playing somewhere, you're always out, Nord, artist, all of those things. This got us kind of enamored with what you do, and seeing what you do out in and outside of the music industry, the church world, all of that. You just kind of flow. You're like an amalgamation, word of the day, of just what we do in the industry, man. And I think that's super, super dope.
Hey, man, I'm honored, man. Anywhere I can, you know, my motto is, I like to try and find anywhere that I can enhance whatever I'm a part of. I want to be able to enhance whatever, you know, situation I'm a part of. I don't care to what magnitude. I don't care what that is. If it's, you know, better leadership, if it's better just me playing organ and not being the reason why rehearsals held up, whatever it is, you know, I just try to find a way to enhance. And I believe that's one of the things that has helped me to kind of stay, you know, busy or stay focused and, you know, be able to continue to work in the industry. Yeah. Is being somebody that's, you know, easy breezy, that ain't in the way. Exactly. You know, I pride myself off of that. I don't want to be the inconvenience.
There you go. I love that.
What I'm saying? So, you know, that's just me. You know, that's just my work. One of my work methods. You know,
work ethic.
And ethics. Yeah. You know, my work ethics. You know, is just to, you know, stay out of the way, man. You know, do what you need to do what you have to do, and then be the reason why it's enhanced. Be the reason why they hear it differently. Yeah. You know, so that's, you know.
That's why you keep getting the calls. I mean, it's just that, man. It's like, obviously what you're doing is working. And so
that's the favor of God, man, because look, these musicians that are out here today are just mind-blowing, man. These guys out here, they're trying to retire me. Literally. Like,
You think?
you hear some of these young guys, and it's like, they're so good, it's almost discouraging. It's like, why am I still playing if they doing all that and I can't do that?
Yeah, I gave up years ago. That's why I decided what side of this I wanted to be on, and I decided that it was better to be on the side of. I told somebody the other day. I told them they said, because they was calling me. They throw the GOAT term around like very loosely in our space. Oh, you the GOAT, you the GOAT, you the GOAT. Somebody hit me, said something. Yo, bro, you the GOAT. I said no. I said I'm not a GOAT. I'm not an animal. First of all, I'm not a GOAT. But I said what I am is I'm a goat herder.
Oh wow.
Because I decided to be in the company. I decided to be the guy, or wanted to be the guy that was the influencer to the influencers, the connector to the connected. You know what I mean? The people that the guy that could be the bridge to bring people together, or to influence the community in that way. You know what I mean? Like the behind the scene. I want to be behind the scenes of the behind the scenes.
That's good.
I want to herd goats. I want to create the next generation.
Every scene
of goats.
has that scene.
Yeah.
Every scene has the behind the scene people
Yep.
who are really making it happen.
Yeah.
Who are really, like, not even so much pulling the strings, but they're the ones that are, making sure everything is bridged together. Everything is in sync. The industry always needs people like you, that understand, that get it.
Yeah.
That stuff is so important, because without you, there's no this.
Yeah.
What we're doing, and even what you're doing with your plugins, it's just somebody has to be on the other side of it.
Has to be on the other side of this.
And that's what a lot of musicians don't understand. Cause see, I heard you in there playing.
Nah.
So you was doing some stuff. We was messing around. You was messing around with the sounds, and messing around with the peculiar sounds and everything. And you was sounding real smooth on that Rose. But a lot of musicians don't understand that it is completely fine.
Yeah.
And one thing I've been praying about is multiple streams of income.
There you go. Yes.
You can have multiple streams of income and still be a musician.
That's what it's about.
It's about how well you're going to diversify yourself. How are you going to be able to have multiple streams of income if all you can do is play in church at that only play CCM music? You know what I'm saying? So you gotta be able.
You got that button.
You know what I'm saying? There's a whole lot you can unpack in that one statement.
Just in that one statement, that's loaded.
There's so many people that want multiple streams of income, but they're not doing the necessary things, or they don't have the necessities to have multiple streams of income. They don't have the creative drive, to say, okay, I can do this, but let me also do that. I can play in church, but let me get more into production, so that when people call me and they need production done, I can actually do it. Yeah. And not just make beats, but I can actually edit vocals. Wow. I can actually, they need somebody to edit drums. I can do that. These guys, a lot of people just don't understand that facet, or even just getting into the technical side, like what you're doing, which is, again, you're doing a great job. Yeah. But, getting into the technical side, that's a whole nother monster, because without that side, there's no this. What do you do without plugins? Who's making them? Who's troubleshooting them? Yeah. So those are the things that, as you mature in this industry, you understand. You want multiple streams of income, but you gotta kind of work. You gotta kind of get into it. Yeah. Get into whatever it is that you're not into that you probably should get into. Because a lot of people think it's just gonna happen naturally, and they just take it for granted. Like, it's just gonna happen. Well, I'm intelligent, or I'm talented, so it's gonna happen some way. No, it's like, no, you gotta work for it. You gotta work for that, man. Get out there and find your niche and stick with it. I realize my niche is production. I love doing production. I love getting in the studio with different, choirs or groups, different artists, and pulling out something that maybe they didn't even know was there. Wow. One of besides my dad and my brother Doobie, one of my biggest influences as far as studio production and vocal production is Alex Ward.
Oh,
Ace of Ward. I had the opportunity of watching him work a few times. We did a couple records. We did one record we did that I was totally studio was Micah Stampley's Love Never Fails record.
Oh, really?
And,
Wow.
We did that in the studio. We spent like a week. And where were we? Atlanta, yeah. We were in Atlanta. Spent like a week in the studio. Me, Alex Ward, of course.
Yeah.
J. Drew Sheard on drums. AJ Brown on bass.
Wow.
Tim Mold, guitar.
Yeah.
And Eddie Brown on keys.
It's like the Avengers.
It was crazy. I mean, it was a crazy week. Like, it was crazy. Like, we was wilding out. But, like, what was happening was they had a unique schedule, and Alex was sitting in there. We would play the song down, play like 2 takes of it, and then he would bring the backgrounds in, right in the studio, and just immediately start working on them, and stacking them, and just editing them, flying them over. Yeah, and it was crazy. And I was like, man, this is what I would. This is what you want to do. I want to be able to do this because I couldn't do it at that time. Yeah. I was still stuck on, I'm going to just make money playing everywhere. And the Lord was like, no, dig deeper. Wow. And Alex was like, man, sit next to me. He made me sit down next to him and watch him like work Pro Tools. Now, I still don't know how to work Pro Tools. Yeah. I don't know how to work Pro Tools. I'm not a Pro Tools guy. I'm a Logic guy. Yeah. And Reaper. They're still trying to get me to use Ableton, but I don't like Ableton. Yeah. So y'all pray for me, those out here. But no. Those of you that know the words of prayer, pray my strength in the Lord. No,
stretch your hands towards Kevin.
Because
God is able to.
He's able. I know. I know y'all want me to get on Pro Tools and all that mess. That's demonic. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. No.
I'm excited to reveal something game-changing for us and for you as producers and musicians. I want to introduce to you Peculiar Sounds version 2. We've introduced standalone mode, allowing you to use it independently from any DAW. You can now blend up to 2 sounds to create rich and complex textures. We added in 2 brand new effects, the Lo-Fizer and the Mod Filter. The Lo-Fizer gives you instant lo-fi vibes with just a button, while the Mod Filter adds dynamic movement and flow to any sound you apply to. And we also added the innovative new MIDI browser that provides you with hundreds of chord progressions, melodies, and drum loop MIDI files that you can drag straight into your DAW. And as a bonus, V2 now includes Sounds Off the Block expansion for totally free, bringing the total to over 400 patches. So as you can see, Peculiar Sounds V2 is not just an update, it's a revolutionary new plugin. So make sure you check the website right now and you can get your hands on this game-changing plugin.
But Alex was like, man, sit next to me, man. I watched him, work the vocals and just, have them, it was amazing.
Yeah. Would you say that was a moment that you can pinpoint that changed your directory?
Kind of changed the trajectory. Like, the trajectory was like, yo, I want to do this at a deeper level. Wow. Like, I want to be able to do what he's doing. I want to sit in the engineer seat and do this. You know what I'm saying? So even watching my brother Doobie, who's like, I call him the one-stop shop. Oh. Because Doobie literally will go in the studio. He will lock himself in the studio for like weeks and then come out with a completely finished record. And it's like fully edited, fully mixed, mastered, and it's just like ready.
I call him Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, he'll hit me up. Hey, my new record's on,
it's out.
It's out on iTunes. It's like, when did you do this? A couple weeks ago, and he's a one-stop shop because he can sing, he can play, he can produce, he can record, he can track, he can mix, he can edit, he can do all of that. And it was just like, I want to be able to do that. Yeah. Now the industry might not like it. Yeah. Because everybody can't get their hand in the pot. Yeah. When you're a one-stop shop. Yeah. Contrary to what popular belief, the industry doesn't like one-stop shops. No. They don't like those people. They don't like the Doobie Powell.
They don't like a nonstop flight. Yeah. They want a layover.
Because if you're really smart and you corner them and be like, look, no, all that money's coming to me. Yeah. They're not gonna like that. Yeah. They would rather be able to say, This one did that. This one did that because then the record labels can get their hands more. They can get more control over how the money's allocated.
Yeah, how it's allocated. Yeah.
If you got somebody that works for you doing this, somebody works for you doing that, rather than a Doobie Powell that's doing everything.
Yeah,
and
he's
can
doing
do it
at that level.
This level.
I mean, he's doing his tours,
You
he's
know what
doing
I'm saying?
shows. Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I respect that about him the most because he didn't do he's never been signed to a label like that. You know what I mean? He's been completely independent and made a career in music, and made a lifelong career in music just off of doing him. And he hasn't. I was listening to that live record he just dropped, the one that he just did in Israel.
In Israel, yeah.
And I said, Doobie is doing the music that he wants to do.
Right.
Like he gets to do it. He doesn't have to conform to what a label is saying to do. This dude just gets out there and just says, I want to do a James Brown funk type this with that and add this, and he just does it.
Oh yeah,
I respect that so much. Bro.
Right. I learned. I always appreciated Doobie for being himself.
Yeah.
And I used to sometimes, I had to learn growing up to be original. To understand the art of originality.
That's
every artist, every producer don't understand that. So I'm saying, so I realized with Doob, he's staying true to himself, and he's always been true to himself, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
It's what the Lord gives him that, and you would hope that people get it.
Yeah.
And it sucks that there's an industry full of people who just are in the music industry and are not musical, and they don't get it.
Yeah.
These people are pushing agendas of music that everybody knows is trash.
Yeah.
I mean,
y'all
don't look at me crazy because I said it, because Rob Glasper said it on his record a few times. A lot of stuff that's out here that's being force-fed through the media, that's being force-fed through the radio stations, the people who got the money, the folk at the top, they're pushing, some of the music they're pushing is whack. It's trash.
Yeah.
It really is. And then you have the ones like Doobie and, other great artists that are still out here, they're considering them underground artists. And it's like, well, how is he underground when everybody in the industry or everybody that's at the top of these record labels swear by him?
Exactly.
Where did we go wrong?
Right.
Where they swear by the Doobie Powells and the Dion Kippings.
Come on.
And I, shouting out some cats that I know personally that are doing great things, and they write their own music, they arrange their own music, and yet it's like it's so hard for them to get on. That's a whole nother, that conversation I can park there and take a little detour too on that, but it's just crazy because you're like, yo, where are we going wrong? Where these people actually know who these guys are, but yet they're not in the same rotation. You know what I'm saying? Like what happened to the old days where people actually, the people who actually had, talent, they would hear their music and they would want it on the radio stations.
Yeah.
I want this played on my radio station. I want this in a rotation. I want blah, blah, blah. It's just not the same anymore.
No, it's all like you said, commercial.
All politics.
And speaking of influence and how things influence, I think it's a good space to switch into talking about your family's impact and influence. I don't think, because we're digging in and working on some stuff. We got some stuff coming in that we're working on. We got a couple of Project X's that we're working on that I'm gonna show some stuff in the near future coming soon. We're not gonna dig too deep into that, but we got some stuff we're working on. But being able to sit in the studio when I came to Connecticut was several months ago. And being able to sit in the studio with you and Doobie and Billy and all of y'all guys to be able to tell us these stories, these amazing stories about your dad and how, with wood, brass, and steel and all of that stuff and the influence. Because you was telling me, I think you was telling a story about Kirk how when you met Kirk for the first time, and then I think he said your name. You said your name. I think he said because he said he knew your pops.
Was that Kirk Franklin?
Was it Kirk or was it Kirk Carr? It was somebody.
Kirk Carr. Oh, Kirk Carr was a member of our church.
That's what it was. It was Kirk Carr, not Kirk Franklin. So it was Kirk
Carr. Yeah,
yeah.
He was a member of our church.
That's crazy.
When I was a baby, he was the piano player.
That's crazy,
and,
bro.
My uncle Ivan was the organist.
We'll talk about
the
him
late
in a
great Ivan Powell, and Doobie was the drummer.
Yeah,
Billy was the junior drummer, and I was a baby in a car seat.
Bro, so Kirk Carr was. That's what I'm saying. I don't think people understand. I know there's people that know that study y'all that know that, but I don't think that Gen Pop understands the impact that you guys had in Connecticut. And how it is branched out. That stemmed out. I mean, because y'all was telling a story. Hez got his start.
Hez used to come and train. Bishop Hez used to come and train my dad's choir
before he
really
was like
knew who he was.
He was just a choir
James
director.
Hall used to bring worship and praise up before people really knew who he was. Before he had a hit. You know, you had all those people.
Was it Donnie McClurkin? You said,
you know, Donnie was cool with my pops for years. Bishop Marvin Winans. Dang. Was an old friend. He used to sleep on my father's sofa and run revivals at the church before people knew he could really preach. You know,
Dang.
And he was just in the Winans, and he was, accepted his call to preach. He would come and preach for my dad back when his name was Evangelist Marvin Winans. Nobody knew who Bishop was, but you had Kurt Carr was a member, and while he was there. We had he came from the Baptist church.
Yeah.
He's born in Connecticut, went to UConn. He grew up in a Baptist church right around the corner from us, actually, called Hopewell Baptist. And then he got to the church. He met the Clark sisters for the first time at my church. Maddie brought Twinkie and Dorinda, Karen, and all of them, and
you just brush about, the Clark sisters.
Oh man,
that's like Tuesday.
Family.
That's like Tuesday at the Powell house.
But it's really family. Like
Hez was on the couch. Hez came, slept on the couch, and Kirk was at choir rehearsal, and the Clark sisters came through for rehearsal.
No, man, it was just my dad was he had a lot of influence, and that's a whole nother angle that I could come from because his influence stemmed from even his secular days before he got saved. He had a lot to do.
You need to talk about that. Tell them about that, bro. That blew my mind. Wood, Brass, and Steel.
Brass, and Steel, one of the hottest disco bands of the 70s. And even before, while they were not even before, but while they were doing all of that, my dad and Wood, Brass, and Steel, they were contracted with, all platinum records. Sugar Hill and all them, and my Wood, Brass, and Steel is the band that you hear on like Rapper's Delight all of the stuff. They're celebrating the 50-year anniversary of rap, but what a lot of people don't know is that was my dad and his crew in the studio with Sugar Hill and them making a lot of that music.
You see what I'm saying?
He was the one. They were the ones making a lot of that music that people know to this day that are like forever hits.
Hibbit to the
all
hibbit,
that stuff.
Hip-hop.
Like
he
was doing all that stuff. And then he got saved.
What's the skate? I always call it the skating song. I can't think of it because I can't. I'm gonna think of it in a minute. It just because I heard it in my head and then but that was all under the Sugar Hill. That was all in that same thing. Like pop culture, music. Was influenced like you said, all of the hip hop stuff came out of that whole shit. Because all of the rappers sampled all of that stuff.
They used to bring my dad and them to New York, be in the studio, and all that stuff. And this is like nuts, bro. I wasn't even thought of yet, but I just know from hearing all the stories down through the years. And my dad, even when they did a behind the scenes on Wood, Brass, and Steel not too long ago, like right before my dad kind of right before he passed away, or right before he got sick, rather. They did a behind the scenes, and he was telling me all the stories about them going down, to New York, and them coming up here, and they getting studio time, and adding claps to the songs. you know, finding any way to make money on the song.
Yeah. Good point.
Because they would give them, you know, a certain amount of dollars.
Yeah.
You know, in the studio, you know, while they're in the studio, like, okay, well, y'all gonna get $50 a track.
Wow.
For whatever it is. You know, back then, this was 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah.
So they're like, you know, okay, we'll give y'all $50 per track. Yeah. So they would be like, okay, this track needs hand claps. Yeah. So they all start clapping. They clap for 5 minutes.
Trying to get $50. Trying to get that money.
All right, let's get another 50. All right, this song need a cowbell. And then somebody get a cowbell. And this song needs such and such. It needs some guys in the back just saying, yeah. So they would my dad had me rolling. You know, they would do all that stuff on the old rap music, you know, and then he got saved and he turned from that and he didn't look back, you know, and
that's crazy.
He started from there, came the Gospel Truth.
Yep.
And, you know, the Gospel Truth, the late Matty Moss Clark would bring them to Detroit to Bailey Cathedral, and that's where Donald Lawrence heard the Gospel Truth for the first time, and he was just like, and wow, he was like, oh my God. And I remember him telling me the story. He was like, man, I heard them, and I looked at my singers and was like, we gotta go on after them. And it was just crazy, man. And then from there, then he starts doing his own gospel. He started gospel jazz. He started gospel jazz.
He did, bro. Your pops.
I'm gonna say it again.
Say it again.
Hubert Powell started. Is this the camera? Is this camera?
Yeah, it's on. That camera's on you.
Hubert Powell Jr. from Hartford, Connecticut, started gospel jazz.
Bro, I promise you.
Lord have mercy.
Late 80s, had to be late 80s, early 90s. The radio was livid. Mm-hmm. I remember this song. I would hear it every day. Mm-hmm. It never failed. Like it was like the filler music behind whether they telling the weather or they telling the thing, and you would hear it in the back. You hear that.
I will go.
Bruh.
Yeah, Doc.
That was our offering song. We would play that thing for offering once because I studied that. I remember studying that like intricately. That was like probably in that realm, one of the first songs I learned how to play.
That was from Keep Pressing On. Bruh. That was the Keep Pressing On record that he released in, I want to say 93 or 94.
Bro.
But he did like 3 records before then. So like, you know, he had been doing it for a while. And, you know, I just found some pictures. I probably have to get them to you. Yeah. But he had, you know, we found pictures of him in Memphis at Holy Convocation.
Wow.
Hanging out with the late Willie James Campbell. They were like brothers. And he had his, you know, cassette tape table. Yeah. And I think it was, that one was Thank You for Your Touch. Uh-huh. I think that was the record. And For Your Ears Only. Okay. He was selling them.
I remember For Your Ears Only.
And so
I remember that one.
I you know, fast forward really quickly. A couple years ago, I was doing something in New York, and I bumped into Warren Campbell and Erica Campbell, and we're at this rehearsal spot, and she starts going in. And she was like, "I was a teenage girl, and I was in Memphis, and I brought this tape For Your Ears Only by Hubert Powell." And
that's crazy.
I listened to that tape all the time because, you know, my mother was holy. We couldn't listen to all types of music,
bro.
And so like she would listen to that all the time, like, and she was telling me about how she would buy that tape. But yeah, you know,
that's what I'm saying, bro. Like that was like, it's like y'all were like the Powell family. Just in my honest opinion, is like the Forrest Gump of the industry.
Oh wow!
It's like, you know how you remember Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump was like he was like that figure, that silent figure that goes through history. Right. He's at JFK. I mean, every turn of
everywhere
history,
you see him, he's right.
It was
there,
just
right?
He was in everything. He's in every turn of history. Forrest Gump had something to do with it.
Yeah, do something.
And I feel like that translates to the Powell family in that. If you look at from the secular, because you think about the Wood, Brass, and Steel to Sugar Hill Records to all of that stuff and how it like coincided with the hip hop and the rise of that, and to know that this band was like the centralized thing and they didn't get the credit for it, they didn't get the light shined on them, and they were literally the bed that the whole industry laid on, which is the music, and they weren't. You know what I'm saying? And so you got that level of influence that your pop was a part of that whole regime that influenced that to go straight into, now he flips into gospel and gets saved, becomes a pastor, gets into that world, and now he's influencing every gospel artist.
A whole nother genre who really didn't even know what his influence was before then. Because see, a lot of people in gospel, they talk about the gospel truth. They talk about the For Your Ears Only, his earlier, solo records where he was jazz and everything, gospel jazz. But they don't know where it derived from.
Right.
They just don't. They don't even know the secular side. They don't even know where he was traveling. He was a teenager and he was traveling, opening up for Richard Groove Holmes. And they traveled with 2 organs.
Wow.
And Richard Groove Holmes is who Joey DeFrancesco.
Yeah, Joey. Yeah.
Joey DeFrancesco patterned a lot of his playing. Joey McGriff and Richard Groove Holmes is who, Joey was, that was his. He was my favorite. He was studying.
My
dad traveled with Richard Groove Holmes, and he would open for them, and then sometimes they would go back and forth on stage.
Nuts, bro.
And so when he got off, when he finished doing all that, and he got saved, he influenced a whole nother, side of the music industry who really didn't even know. A lot of them didn't even know because they really wasn't hip to that side. They didn't know that, he really came off the road, like quit the band. Yeah. New Year's, his New Year's resolution was, I'm quitting this band. They had the highest paid gig of the year.
Yeah. And he just said, I'm
all
out.
about to drop it. He said, this is my last gig.
I'm out.
I'm going home. And he went home and immediately started influencing a whole nother side of the music.
That's crazy, industry. Bro.
And that's, that's the favor of God. But what I think with my dad, one of the greatest things about his story is that he didn't compromise.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? When he was influencing them, he didn't compromise. He didn't try to find ways to justify. He would often say, when I was doing this and I was doing that, I knew I was wrong. And this ain't about, we ain't talking about what's right or wrong, because everybody got their opinions and whatever you want to do is what you want to do. But, at the end of the day, there's only one way.
Exactly.
So my dad, and, I'm talking to those that believe, of course, I'm talking to the believers, but at the end of the day, my dad was like, look, when I was playing in the clubs with a cocaine spoon around my neck, I knew I was wrong. I ain't try to justify it. So, I say that to say he really honed in on making a difference. He really honed in on, like, look, I'm not about to compromise. This is it. I'm not doing that no more. I'm doing this. And then the Lord gave him the, one of the inspirations or the revelations to really infuse what he loved the most, which is jazz music, and do gospel his way. That's where me and Doobie and Uncle Ivan and a lot of the, greats, that's where we got our chord structures from. Because we didn't hear a lot of those chord structures being played in church. Before him, it wasn't a lot of that being played in church. Bro. Nobody knew how to play. Yeah. I will make the darkness light before like what he was doing. Nobody knew how to do it like that before him.
Nah, bro.
So it was just like,
that's why I say even that I'll go in Jesus' name flipped it for me, because like I remember the original version, and then when I heard
Bishop Hez,
because I remember hearing it because you hear Hez version, you're like, I will go in Jesus' name, you like that, but then it's like when you hear that, boom, and you like, yo,
and then
I
like
didn't know
the reharmonize, I will go in Jesus' name. He was doing some crazy.
It's like when you hearing that, stuff, you like, I didn't know that those chords existed.
You never, you
never thought about that. You didn't hear it like that.
You didn't hear it in that way, and that's just
And that was his step. But here's the thing. For me personally, I didn't know that was Hubert Powell until you guys started popping up on the scene, like, you know, you and Doobie, and I really started tapping into what y'all were doing. And then I finally made the connection. Okay, that Pops is Hubert Powell. Boom. Blah, blah, blah. One day, I don't even know when this was, probably, I don't know, several years ago, I'm just randomly searching the internet and I'm typing in, because I'm curious. If you going down the pipeline, Doobie Powell, Kevin Powell, Billy Powell, Ivan Powell, Hubert Powell. Who's Hubert Powell? And I type in it, and I will go in Jesus' name, pops up. Bro, I just...
Yeah, he was nominated for Stella and the Dove Award, I think, for those records. And he went up against what we consider him his like protege, which was Ben Tankard.
Yeah.
You know, they went up against each other, and I think Ben Tankard beat him by like a cat's hair or something. Yeah. But my dad never let. He was happy because even it's crazy to think that even at that time with that record, my dad had been pastoring almost 10 years. Wow. So he had actually retired from, you know, he did the gospel truth stuff. Yeah. He kept doing music even, you know, when he had started pastoring, but he really knew that his call was to pastor. So he had to really like carve out time to do those records. And back then he was still signed to a record label, you know, that was actually giving him, you know, back in those days, record labels, they were a little bit more, they were a little different than what they are today. Yeah.
There was more money on the table too.
Yeah, you know, they gave him an advance. So he was like, well, hey, you know, I think I can do this record. Yeah. So he got, you know, he let Doobie come in and help him. Doobie was still in high school, I think, at the time, you know. But he let Doobie come in and help him and do things. And he was fully retired out of the music industry. Yeah. At that time. He just did that record because it was like, look, I want to do it. You know, it's time. Like, I haven't done anything in a while.
Intro 2, 3, 4. Coro, 2, 3, 4.
To the top, 2, 3, 4.
Repite, 2, 3, 4. Praise break, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Praise break, 3, 4. Go to church, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Drive it. 3, 4.
Breakdown. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Outro. 2, 3, 4. Chop it. Take it out. Stab the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Let's
just
go.
how he poured into, like you said, letting Doobie come in and co-produce at that age, and then the way he poured into you guys, and he literally just stamped you guys with his whole DNA. Oh yeah, and then you guys have taken it and multiplied it 10x. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? To what he is.
Trying to continue the legacy, man.
Oh, man, no, y'all
and the legacy, you know, and like I tell people all the time, a lot of people don't know my mom is so mild-mannered when it comes to music. But, you know, she studied piano.
I heard Jay. She wasn't no slouch.
She ain't no slouch. When she married my dad, she knew she didn't have to worry about playing. Yeah. But she went to college. You know, she could sight read at one point, and you know, of course she's an amazing singer and all that stuff. So like, we pick up a lot of that musical geniustic ways from my mom as well.
That's
crazy. She wasn't no slouch. She ain't no slouch. You know?
Yeah.
She be acting like she can't sing now, but you know, because she feel like she's got a few years older. Nah. But listen, my mom is still a powerhouse. Wow, you know, bro. Whenever she feel like it, she's a powerhouse. But yeah, she, you know, it was in her too. So you know, it still is in her too. So it's just like, you know, we just. we try to keep the legacy alive, man.
And I love it because, like I said, you guys have it's like I said again, Forrest Gump is the best analogy I can give, because like at every turn, because even when you cross into to Doobie and even what you're doing, but I think even to go back to Doobie just to park there for a second, how he's been that. I know this wouldn't be like, it's not gonna sit well with some people when I say it this way, but I put Doobie like in that same category as like a Jay Dilla type figure.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I don't understand anybody that would get upset at that.
Yeah, I've said it to a couple people.
What Jay
that got
Dilla
upset
has
him.
done for the rap and for the R&B, for the neo soul, for that type of and for that industry.
Yeah.
And
And
this
Doobie's
is what
he's done the
Doobie
same.
has done for gospel. And it's crazy.
And
We
not
were
just
actually
gospel,
at
even
Blue Note.
even at R&B type. 'Cause
Yeah, absolutely.
I run across people. Troy Taylor.
Yeah.
Troy Taylor. I mean, he grew up in Connecticut too.
He's from Connecticut.
He's from Connecticut.
My dad gave him his first synthesizer.
Bruh.
This is stuff that people don't know. You talk about Troy Taylor working with Rihanna and Chris Brown and all these people.
Hubert Powell is there.
My father gave him his first synthesizer. He still has it. He sent us a picture the other day. Like, when
You see what I'm saying?
when my pops passed, he sent us a picture. He's
And
like,
that's the
man,
point.
I still have this. He gave this to me, and I'll never forget it. So it's like,
You don't
that's
understand
family.
that. And so I put him in that same category
Absolutely.
as like that, because like it's not just because of who he is and what he's been to the industry and all of the areas he moves in, from producing to mixing to singing to playing. Like, he's influenced multiple areas and tapped in on multiple genres. And so singers call back to Doobie. Oh man, no, that's Doobie. He's chopped Doobie Powell. Players go back to, oh no, where'd you get that from? Got that from Doobie. You got that. This Doobie. That's Doobie. The style, that even like, because I remember when we was dude was talking about he got irate one time. We were sitting back talking. He's like, man, he said this lo-fi stuff that they don't. He said, man, he said, I was doing that in 03,
He
04,
was, though.
bro. Like,
What him and my uncle Ivan was doing in church in the 90s.
yeah.
I'm laughing because I'm like, what people are just now getting hip to. I'm like, I don't say it don't move me,
Yeah.
but I heard these guys doing this stuff when they were just two-piecing it. After
Dang.
Kirk left, because James Cleveland discovered Kirk Carr in Hartford. And my father prayed over his career and said,
That's crazy.
you got my blessings to go out west. That's how Kirk Carr ended up in Cali.
In Cali.
And then it was just a two-piece.
Forrest Gump, bro.
It was just a two-piece
And a biscuit.
band. It was my Uncle Ivan on organ, Doobie on drums, and the stuff they were doing back then was like,
Yeah.
and I'm growing up, I'm a kid, so what was normal for me, I didn't know it wasn't normal for other people.
Yeah. This was life.
I didn't know this
It
was
was
like,
Tuesday.
oh yeah, Uncle Ivan,
It was
that's
Wednesday.
a drop. That's a drop. He's dropping us out the sky in the 90s. He was doing that stuff, like some of the stuff, like, that Doobie, I'm pretty sure he let you hear.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff he was coming up in the early 90s. It was like, I just grew up hearing that stuff. I didn't know it wasn't normal.
Yeah.
Until
No, he played something that your pops did. I can't think of the record. I don't even think it was a release record. It sounded like a rehearsal recording or something that he played for me when I was in Connecticut the last time.
Okay.
And I was like, yo, what's this? He's like, that's my pops. That's
Wow.
Dad. And when I say, like, when they were playing, like, it was a line that went in there. The first thing I told him, I said, that sounds like the intro on 90% of gospel and today. That sounds like a gospel
It really is,
ballad intro or a gospel mid-tempo intro. It was just something crazy.
Yep.
And I was like, yo, that's what these cats is. He said that was in the 80s. I was like,
my
what?
pops, they was doing that
They
stuff.
was doing that stuff
They
then.
was doing that stuff way back then. But to your point, the original point, Doobie is definitely, we was sitting with Rob Glasper. It's funny, we was at the Blue Note with Rob Glasper. Shout out to the big homie Rob Glasper, man. But he actually said what you said to Doobie.
Really?
He said this. He considered Doobie like a Jay Dilla, for gospel, and then how he's impacting all these genres, because
Yeah.
these people are listening to him, and you're seeing a lot of people who have literally tried to imitate his style
Exactly.
And they're going and doing stuff and not giving him the credit.
Exactly.
You know, we've been places where Doobie was on the same concert, and we were down in the church basement.
Yeah.
You know, getting ready to pray as a unit. All right, y'all, let's pray before we go up in there.
Yeah.
And the band that's on starts playing Doobie's whole intro to one of his songs, and we're like, and Lord bless us. Hold on, Lord, what was that?
Right. Right.
Did that just play whatchamacallit? And we all looking like, so it's like a lot of people, we've seen a lot of people try to downplay Doobie's impact,
Yeah.
but still at the same time try to imitate it.
Come on, bro. Yeah.
And it's like, you know, you try to imitate it and you're going to try to monetize off of it. Like, you're weird. Like, hey, I'm in a place where I like to give people their flowers, man.
Yeah.
I like to give people their respect. Anytime you hear me on the organ, I'm continuing the legacy of Ivan Powell, of my dad, Hubert Powell, of the living legacy of Derek Jackson. You know,
Derek Jackson.
You know, some of these is like the guys that, you know, anytime you hear me talking about me coming up as a musician, I can't not talk about me loving organ and without mentioning Corey Henry.
Come on.
I can't not talk about my upbringing. I don't understand why these musicians these days have such a hard time giving people their accolades, man. My dad, I'll never forget it. Had to be about 1991 or so. Yeah. And, you know, this lady kept calling my dad, asking, I want to bring my son. You know, we tried to get him on Oprah, and, you know, they tried to get him on the Today Show. And, you know, they said he doesn't meet the criteria, you know, but my son is a prodigy. And I want to get him to your church. I look up to you. You're amazing. We listen to you. We listen to your music. And my dad was like, oh, what's his name? His name is Corey Henry.
Wow.
He's 4 years old, or 3. I think it was 3 at the time.
Wow.
And he was like, oh yeah. My dad was like, okay, yeah, bring him. We got a concert going on. We had a concert. I don't even know. It was a Friday night, good old night. You know, them 90s Friday night concert. Some choirs is up there singing. I don't even know what we had, but it was like a Friday night. And Corey and his late mother, she brought him to the church. And I never forget, my dad stood me on his, you know, he had like his preacher seats in the pulpit. Yeah. We had one of them old school churches with the pulpit and the podium, the choir stand up there. Yeah. Old Kojic church. You know, I got a picture. I'll show you. Yeah. But he sat me. He was sitting in his seat. He had a seat like that. Yeah. He stood me on the coffee table. Wow. His little drink table. He said, Kevin, watch this. And he just picked me up and he stood me there. And I'm like, what? And they said, give it up for Corey Henry. And I seen this little kid, because I'm older than Corey. Me and Corey was just joking about this because I was calling him my hero. Yeah. I said, even though I'm older than you. Yeah. We was literally just joking about this like 2 days ago.
That's crazy.
At NAMM. And he stood me on there, and I seen this little kid with a part in his hair get on the organ. Yeah. And he just got on the organ and started blazing. Playing every key. He was only like 4 years old. And I think I was 5 or 6. Yeah. And I didn't know nothing about no child prodigies. Yeah. I just said to my dad, I was like, well, I want to play the organ too. Yeah. You know, and I knew I loved the organ. I knew because my Uncle Ivan, he was just a smooth cat. Like Uncle Ivan, he always had the suits on, and always had the dope shoes, and the ladies loved him. Yeah. So growing up, I just always was like, man, he cool, man. How he play the organ like that? And then my dad get on. Yeah. So down my hero, my natural hero gets on the organ. He's killing it. He's cool. He had the cool walk. Yeah. So I just always loved the organ. But when I saw Corey, I was like, nah, I gotta play. Like, he can't be my age playing like this. I should be able to do this. I didn't know that, he was a child prodigy.
But see, even to that point, but even to that point, to your point, I told somebody this like a couple of weeks ago. We was talking about this same thing about us especially the black church. The black church is black church musicians. Right. If you want to keep it a buck, just about all of us, if you started playing, most of us started playing at a young age, 5, 6 to 10, we were prodigies. Yeah. We just didn't know it.
We didn't know it.
Because it was normalized. Like it was normalized. It was normalized. If you was like
our people. Because of our background, because of our lineage, because of our heritage because of, where we come from, where we derive from.
Yeah.
Where people who were born, music and
entertainment,
rhythm
all of that.
and
Yeah,
all that stuff is
yeah.
in our bones.
Like
it's
legit.
it's literally in our DNA, and a lot of us don't know it.
Don't understand it,
and a
bro.
lot of people who don't know about our heritage and our history don't understand it.
Yeah, but it's like you said, we don't understand it. Like with 5, 6, 7, 8, we would. I know cats was on the drums with pacifiers in their mouth that played a song and then went and got their diaper changed.
No, I just saw a video. I just shared it literally,
and they still doing it.
I just shared a video on Facebook. This I don't even know who the little baby was, but he was in his diapers,
killing.
and he was like,
They be
and he was
killing.
playing drums, and I'm like, oh my, he got it already,
bro.
He's literally in a diaper playing shout music,
bro.
Crazy.
that environment fosters all that. But see, it's normalized to us. But I'm just keeping it like the general facts.
I never thought about it that way though.
But when you go over
really
to the
is
other
kinda
side,
normalized.
when you go over to like our Caucasian counterparts and stuff like that, they look at us as that. I was at NAMM, this was several years ago, and I was talking with one of my Caucasian brothers, and we were just talking about the black church, and they came up in our conversation. We started talking, and he asked me, he said, so when did you start playing? I was like, I had to be about 8 or 9 years old, somewhere around there when I got into it. To me, I'm a late bloomer.
Right.
You just started at 8. You just started playing keys at 8. 9, you're a late bloomer. Like you just got started. Oh man, you behind. You got some catching up to do.
Right.
And so I started at 8 or 9 or whatever. He's like, so when did you start like playing like for your church? Like actually playing? I don't know, 6, 7 months after that, I was playing for the youth choir. Maybe 2 years after that, by the time I was 10, I was like literally the musician for the church, the music, as we call it, the minister of music, as they called it back then. I was the minister of music by that time.
You were the worship pastor.
And so he says, so you were playing like I was playing like the whole service. He like, and I was like offering all of that stuff. And he says, he said, so you were a prodigy. I said,
we never looked at it.
we never looked at it like that.
I was playing. I remember,
But to them, that's what we are.
And I never thought about that because when I was, even when I, of course, saw Corey, I was about 5 or 6, I was already playing drums.
Yeah.
And so I was doing like concerts, like they would make me do drum solos in like elementary school.
Yeah.
And I didn't think nothing of it.
Yeah.
And they were like going crazy. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. This is normal.
Drum, like, y'all can't do this?
This is Sunday.
I didn't know. Like, I really didn't know because I was,
we do this stuff for offering. What are you talking about?
Bro,
This is
it was my
5-minute
thing.
offering.
When I was a kid, I played for the kids choir.
Yeah.
That was my thing.
We
like,
called ours
every
the Angel
Sunday.
Choir.
Yeah, like this, or like in Kojic, they called it the Sunshine Band.
Sunshine Band. Yeah, Baptist,
So,
it was the Angel Choir.
The Angel Choir. Yeah. So like, when I got of a certain age, my dad told Billy Doobie, hey, Kevin's playing for the he's playing for the CF.
It's the
our
Hubert
church is
Powell
the
voice
CFC
for me, bro.
choir. So the Children's for Christ choir is what I used to play for.
Yeah.
Every Sunday, I get on the drums when they sing.
Yeah.
And so it was just normal to me. So when they had me playing, I'm in elementary school and I get on the drums, I set the drums up and I do my thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was,
to
a big
the
deal.
outside world. If you had taken any of and I told Jan, me and Jan was talking about this a few, whenever. I'm always talking to somebody about something.
Right.
But we was talking a while back, and I said, the least of us. I'm talking even the cats that we clown for transposing and all of that
Right.
stuff. The least of us are better than some of the best of them out there.
On our worst day.
Worst day. The bass player that's at in the back country woods playing bass for the Country Baptist Church that's got like 30 members could play circles probably behind some of the touring bass players
on these tours.
that's on these tours playing for some of these secular, as we would call secular artists.
Absolutely.
Like if you pull up at any church, black church specifically, it's the people that we clown. If they went into the secular realm with that style, would be celebrated. They would be.
Here's
They
a
would be the
scary
Avengers.
turn. Here's a scary turn.
Yeah.
That's a true statement. But you know what else is a scarier true statement is the fact that while they have more talent, they have less discipline.
Yes.
I feel like that's where our like the churches that we're talking about, the circle that we're talking about, that's where it kind of went wrong.
Yeah.
In a lot of places, it's like, yeah, y'all should be on these gigs, and I tell cats that now back home, they'll tell you. I get after these cats. I got older now. I consider myself. They be calling me onk and stuff. Y'all gonna onk me to death. And y'all ain't gonna like my responses sometimes.
When you become on, you
all
gotta
right,
like
now when I start acting like
when you start unking.
don't try and shut me out, cause y'all yo, show me something all right, cool, bet.
Yeah.
And I have to tell some of them the reason why some of them other cats is gonna get the gig, cause they do what's supposed to be done. Some of these guys that are on these gigs, they really can't play.
Yeah.
But they're literally disciplined. Play what's supposed to be played.
Yeah, I can get what
you can't play, but you play what's supposed to be played.
Yeah.
And if you play what's supposed to be played, nobody a lot of times will never even know how much you can't play.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's the guys that got all the talent that don't know how to do, that don't know when the term less is more should be the go-to thing.
So you think it's culture? You think it's just the culture? Speaking of like kind of into that area, do you think it's the culture? And I call out for lack of a term, I'll call it shed culture. Do you think it's the shed culture that has, in a sense, kind of ruined that thing? Because we're as musicians, it's our talent and our skills because of our DNA, because of our propitiation. I know I just messed that whole word up. Edit that out, Rob. Because of our way of our ability to transmute our skill set quickly to each other's. Okay. We know we can like when we get together and shed. The shed is like that transmuting of skills, that translating of skills. Somebody else is on drums and you pick up off of that by osmosis, just by being in the room. You pick up on the chords, you pick up on that from being around. And so the theory goes out the window, the sight reading, all the reading music, all of those things become null and effect, unimportant, because you can sit in the room with somebody and like kind of pick up with what they're doing and kind of transmute. So you think, and then because of that, it also the shared culture creates like almost like competition type vibe. Everybody's trying to outplay each other. Everybody's trying to outshine. Everybody's trying to do the next thing that gets the ooze that turns the heads. Right. Do you think that shared culture has kind of bolstered that, so to speak, in our community? So it puts every time you see somebody out here that's trying to play something, they're trying to. The discipline goes out the window because they're trying to go for the wow factor.
Well, it has a lot to do with their purpose of shedding.
Okay.
I think, and Doobie has said this even in other times, in past times. And my brother Billy too.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of times, and a lot of drummers who have actually shed with Billy, knows that Billy is like, you know, and I'll talk about Billy real quick. He's one of those drummers. He's more concerned about what you're gonna do when you get that call.
Yeah.
He's more concerned because some people have gotten those calls and they've ruined them.
Yeah.
They blew it.
Yeah.
Because they thought those people wanted to hear what they've been shedding and not what they've been learning.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times you can shed and not learn nothing.
But see, you guys have the benefit of the shed being more like concise and direct, and it's structured. I mean, we sat in the last shed that we did, and I watched Sput basically give a master class, on just how to just that he just laid it out so eloquently. Right. And he didn't say 2 or 3 words, but what he said made sense in the moment, and it helped the craft and the overall function of when somebody got pointed to, they knew what to do. And it was more structured there, and it was just the way that it's built versus some of the sheds that I've been to outside of you guys. It's a little bit less structured, and it's more about the showboat. It's more about the plans, more about the shine. Yo, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Kevin Powell. This was a part of a well over 3-hour conversation that I had with Kevin that day. And we're going to be sharing more episodes from this conversation real soon. So make sure you grab the subscribe button so you don't miss it when we drop it, okay? And make sure you check out other episodes of the podcast. They should be listed somewhere in these regions. And we'll talk to you guys on the next one. I'm out. Holla at your boy.